Hey everyone, Jen here. I'm going to give this a minute to make sure it stays on tonight and give people a chance to jump on if they're looking for the broadcast. If you are here, say hello, let me know. Feel free to do a reaction, like it, love it. Let me know you're here. Okay, it seems to be working tonight, so maybe we're only going to need one take, so we'll see how this goes. So first I thought I would quickly review what we talked about last night. So last night was all about mindset, was gratitude and self-compassion. So if you haven't watched it yet, it's not too late to go back. None of these videos have to be watched in order. The only one that really kind of brings it all together is the very last one. So you can jump around as you want. So it's never too late to jump in and watch the videos, okay? Let's see, so for tonight, like I told you, is self-love time management. And this is a phrase I kind of coined myself. So we'll get into what that looks like in a minute, okay? One thing I also always like to say before I jump into this is anything I share over this week, keep in mind these changes, they're all changes that I've made, but I made them very slowly. So don't feel like you have to do all of this all at once. It's taking little tiny steps. And that last video on Saturday, or the last live, that will kind of walk you through how you can break it down and pick where you want to focus to go. So don't feel like you have to do all this all at once. And I'll probably say that every single video, okay? So to get started, if you are here, feel free to say hi. If you are watching the recording, you can leave a comment and I'll come back and answer any questions you might have. So feel free to do that if you're not watching the live either. Okay, so what happens when you don't practice self-love time management? If you notice I'm looking away, I'm looking at my notes. So a lot of times you might feel stressed, overwhelmed, never having enough time, not taking time for yourself. Hey, Ange. Maybe resentment for all you do for others because you're not, because there's no time for yourself. You're giving all of your energy to others, so your energy feels used up, and there's no energy left for yourself. Okay, so that's what happens when you're not practicing self-love time management. When you are practicing it, you begin to focus on what's most important to you. You establish priorities and you decide where your time's going to go. You take care of yourself and consider your needs when making choices, not just everyone else's. And as moms, yes, we need to take everyone else's into consideration, and there are going to be times where ours aren't going to be met, but many times we're completely ignoring them, okay? We're better able to take care of our family. So when we're taking care of ourselves, we're better able to take care of our family. And then confidence in yourself and your ability to manage your family and manage your time, okay? So before I jump into self-love time management, I do like to talk about some of the traditional tips because we need those too. So the first one is checklists. So I do this in my planner all the time. I will write down everything that needs to get done, and I'm a person that likes to actually check it off. Okay, and I also will keep lists for events that are ahead of time, and that's how I try to plan ahead and stay on top of things, are my checklists. Next is prioritizing. So I've gotten to the point where I can now recognize if I have too much on that list, and I'll actually go through and number what needs to get done. So if I don't get to the last few things, they just get moved to the next day in the planner. Next is breaking down larger tasks. So a lot of times, maybe like decluttering is probably a big one. You know, the task just feels so overwhelming that you don't know where to start. So if you break it down, one way I like to break it down is by setting a timer, or if I need to go through, like one task I need to start doing is going through some bins. So I might say, instead of looking at that full closet of bins, I might say, okay, I'm going to do one bin a day. So really break it down, make it more manageable. Okay, so those are my top traditional time management tips. Breaking down those larger tasks, setting a timer, really prioritizing like what has to be done first and kind of taking stock in that daily. And then the checklists, okay? So now to self-love time management. So really what self-love time management is taking your needs into consideration in how you spend your time, okay? So you might reward yourself, you know, a favorite treat, or a bath, some quiet time, okay, however you can. Delegate, asking for help, which I know can be hard for moms sometimes, but knowing who you can ask to support you when maybe you do need that break, or asking your kids to help picking up. Saying no to events and plans. And this is a big one because we want to do everything. We want our kids to experience everything. And sometimes it's really hard to say no. And we're coming up to that busy, busy time of year where there's so much going on. So you really have to establish what's important to you, what's important to your family, and stick to that. Otherwise, by the time you get to the holiday, you're going to be so exhausted, you won't be able to enjoy it as much. So that's where saying no can come in. Next is being patient with yourself, your kids, and your life in general, and your spouse. And this goes to that self-compassion that we talked about last night. And, it might take longer than planned, or something's going to come up. And having that, and I think I talked about flexibility on another slide, but having that flexibility to be okay, that things will get done, and it just might take a little longer than you intended. The next one is trying, and I know this one is hard, but trying not to take on others' situations. So last night I talked a little bit about mind space. And when we start to think about things that don't really, they might affect us, but they're not our situation to deal with, it takes up a lot of mind space for us. So part of that self-love time management is being aware of when we're maybe overthinking someone else's situation that doesn't belong to us. Okay. The next one is being gentle with yourself. When something doesn't quite work out, you might have a full day planned and an appointment gets canceled, or your child gets sick, or you get sick. And it's knowing that that's the reality, that happens to all of us, and that it's okay. Next is integrating downtime. So really, if you know that's what you and your family need, making sure there's some blocks of time within that schedule where you do have some downtime. So maybe you have a busy weekend or a busy few days. So maybe take one day and say, okay, we're going to block this off and hang out at home or do something just together, just us. Creating your plan for self-care, which is, I forgot what video, I believe it's video 4. So we'll be talking about this week, how you can create your personal plan for self-care. Flexibility, which we kind of talked about already. I thought I had it in there again. And knowing your needs and integrating them into your schedule and maybe moving them up the priority list a little bit. Okay. So what has this done for some of my clients? One discovered that saying no to a situation that wasn't working for her, she was able to focus more on her family. So it was, in this case, it was a situation, not just an event, but she finally realized that it was affecting her and her family, and she was able to say no to it. Another found that by not taking on others' problems, and focusing on just what she could control, that it freed up that mind space for her. So she was able to tackle projects that had been on her mind for months. Okay. So that's really it for tonight. Today was a short one. What does this look like for you? Take a look at that workbook. And when we talk about the self-love time management, one thing it says in the workbook is that a lot of that takes time to get comfortable with them. So maybe pick one that you want to try, or, see how you feel about it. And for the traditional one, maybe pick one thing to try tomorrow. Maybe write down a list, or maybe if you already do lists, prioritize it, put numbers next to it. If there's that big daunting task you've been trying to do, think about maybe 10 minutes towards that task tomorrow and see how you feel. Okay. So for what's next in our series, next one tomorrow night is your purpose and your individuality. So we'll talk about that a little bit tomorrow night. And I also want to mention the giveaway that I'm doing at the end of the series. I'm giving away 2 free sessions to one person, which I've never done before. And to enter, you register, which I'll put the link in the video. So make sure you're registered, get your workbook or guidebook, comment on each video. Even if it's just a hello, that works too. And then there'll be a quick survey at the end, and that will get you entered in the giveaway for the free sessions. So that's it for tonight. I hope you have a wonderful night, and I will see you all tomorrow. Bye, everybody.